Hello, and welcome to Sonata She Wrote. This week I am discussing Trock'ne Blumen, or Withered Flowers, the 18th song in Schubert's Die Schöne Müllerin. The song is centered around the key of E, both major and minor, significant because it is also the key of the final song of the cycle, and is a tritone away from the beginning tonic, B flat major. The optimistic, wandering Müller is far away. Withered love, all that remains.
Ihr Blümlein alle, den sie mir gab, euch soll man legen mit mir ins Grab. Wie seht ihr alle mich an, so weh, als ob ihr wüsstet, wie mir's gescheh. Und Rühmlein alle, die Welt wie blass, ihr Blümlein alle, wovon so nass.
Unlike the energetic breathlessness of Die Böse Farbe, this piece sounds as a hopeless death march, in duple time with only either block chords on the beat or dotted rhythms, as in the third stanza. But despite that, Schubert is representing the Müller as breathlessly moaning out this information. Although of course there are places in the music where taking a breath feels more or less natural, note that there are no actual rests in the vocal part until the cadence on Wo waren so nass. To my ear, this makes the breaths taken by the performer sound as if they are jutting into the music, that the Müller is struggling to get this out and still live. Speaking of that half cadence, the tonality here is actually somewhat ambiguous. I would say that the song is clearly focused around E minor. There have so far been two perfect authentic cadences in G major. The Müller's refusal to pause in his reverie is what prevents these cadences from establishing a key. Because of that, I like to think of these major cadences as reality butting up against the Müller's world. Remember, nothing terrible has actually happened to this man. He is making the choice to respond this way to a scenario that he invented. Doubtless this is something that happens to countless people, and living in a different reality could even be considered symptomatic of mental illness, but the G major cadences are a sign that reality is at hand, and the Müller is turning his back to it.
Tränen machen nicht mein Grün, machen tote Liebe nicht wieder blühen. Und Lenz wird kommen und Winter wird gehen, und Blümlein werden im Grase stehen. Blümlein liegen in meinem Grab, die Blümlein alle, den sie mir gab.
Lamenting that his own tears cannot bring about a springtime and colorful flowers, all that is left to the Müller are the withered remnants of his dead love, which will never bloom again. When he dies, winter will come and pass, and spring will return, with the flowers the Mullerin gave him adorning his grave. The only problem is that the Mullerin never gave the Müller any flowers. The line is a reference to the previous song, Des Müllers Blumen, in which the Müller remarks that the flowers growing by the brook represent the Mullerin's blue eyes, which he will plant under her window so they can convey his love to her. In fact, in that same song, the Müller mentions his own tears being the dew on those flowers. Then, tears of joy. Now, tears of despair. As the song continues, the key changes to the parallel E major. The Müller is imagining a world where he might be resurrected in the Mullerin's heart, that she realize her mistake after his death.
Und Und wenn sie wandelt am Hügel vorbei und denkt im Herzen, der meint es treu, dann Blümlein aller heraus, heraus, der Mai ist kommen, der Winter ist auf.
The Miller is attempting to weave a new reality into being, one in which the Mullerin, when passing the Miller's grave, realizes that the Miller's love was true. The Miller, however, perhaps unable to convince even himself, is not actually able to say this aloud. The Mullerin, in this fantasy, not reality, sings, Der meint es treu, a difficult phrase to translate because of the pronoun es. We might translate it to he meant it truly, or he really meant it, and in this case, the it in question would be the Miller's love. But he doesn't say love. Youens writes that he is both unable to say it and, even within this song, unable to maintain the imagined scene he is painting. As the song comes to an end, the piano returns to the harsh reality of E minor as it slowly closes the march.
Und wenn sie wandelt am Hügel vorbei und denkt im Herzen, der meint es treu, dann Blümlein aller heraus, heraus, der Mai ist kommen, der Winter ist aus, dann Blümlein aller heraus, heraus, der Mai ist kommen, der Winter ist aus.
Thank you for joining me through Trock'ne Blumen. Up next, the penultimate song, Der Müller and der Bach. If everything goes according to plan, both of those songs will be finished by the end of November, and then my hope is to create a sort of remastered edition of this series, where every song is in one video. I was listening to some of the earlier songs in the series, and wasn't very satisfied with my own editing or narration. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you'd like to support me, consider joining my Patreon. After this series on Die Schöne Müllerin ends, there will be content that is only available on Patreon.